Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Transformers Prime Beast Hunters episode review, and today I'm going to be reviewing the series finale, 313 Deadlock, which is episode 13 of season 3, which is going to end the show Transformers Prime, though there is still a TV movie to come that will completely end Transformers Prime, but still this was the end of the show on TV. So yeah, that was interesting, and it's always kind of emotional when a TV show comes to an end. And I think, on the whole, this finale did sort of have that impact. It's been a show that's been out there for kind of nearly 4 years almost, and it's been quite a journey, definitely. But so I'll just get into it. Overall, my opinions on the episode are that I liked it. I really did enjoy the episode. There's always a struggle with a final episode about, do they have enough time to end this? Now, I'm going to be a bit more lenient on this because it still has the movie to come where they can resolve some of the stuff that maybe I thought they should have resolved in the show. But I think it worked. I felt like they just didn't have enough time at all to do anything, but they did a good job with what they showed, what they focused on, and overall I was happy with the ending of the show. I didn't feel like it was a drop in quality. It had emotional moments and I felt them and it worked. So that's all I can really say in terms of my general thoughts. So I'll just get into some specific moments here as I go through the episodes. Really hot opening to the episode with the straight into the battle. They're on the warship, going through it. Stealth team, Wrecker team. Optimus is flying around space. Ratchet's running around the ship, and the main thing about this scene would be that RC asks Optimus that if it doesn't go right, should they destroy the Omega Lock like they did before? And this time Optimus says no. He's not going to ruin a second chance at getting the planet back. And I kind of like that development, that he's kind of just made it for sure that we're doing it this time, regardless of what happens. We are doing it this time. So I really like that scene. Then, as the stealth theme goes off, Smokescreen decides that he has to go off on his own and get the Star Saber, and that was kind of like his big thing in the finale, that he showed himself to have the potential to become a leader by making these decisions that go against what they were initially told, but in the end kind of help them in the end. So that was the kind of one bit of Smokescreen development in this episode that I really liked. Now I'll talk about Smokescreen some more at the end of the video, but I liked that he made this decision on his own and just went off against RC and Optimus's orders. So that was good. Then the hot opening ends basically with Optimus getting his jetpack destroyed by a blast by Megatron from the Dark Star Saber. So that was interesting to ground Optimus, and just basically meant that the fight would have to take place between Optimus, Megatron on foot, basically on the ship. So that was a kind of interesting plot thing to do, to leave it that way and make it so that it's not going to be a dogfight. His jetpack's destroyed straight away. So that was cool. Then we see Ratchet do some fighting, killing some Viacons, and then he attacks Shockwave in an interesting moment. And this is where I really felt the kind of emotion of the episode come in that I wasn't sure if Ratchet was going to make it out of this alive, attacking Shockwave. But he did a reasonably good job. He was obviously not as superior, but Shockwave was focusing on running the Omega Lock as well. So if he didn't have to focus on that, I think Ratchet probably would have been killed. So that was a nice moment too. Then as their kind of stuff is kicking off, we have Bumblebee and RC facing off against Starscream and his armada. We have a kind of funny moment of Knockout added the humor in this finale, basically. Knockout deciding that he's getting out of there. He's not going to be involved in the fighting. He's deciding what he's going to take, and he's looking around like, oh, only what I need, and he's like, rotary buffer. I need the rotary buffer. That's the one thing I need, and he just takes that. That was brilliant, because that's the one thing he's really talked about in the whole episode, that Breakdown, you really only liked him because he was amazing with the rotary buffer and stuff like that. So that was a nice moment to show his vain side. then we get the Wreckers attacking the bridge, but then Shockwave does his usual, Soundwave does his usual trick of bridging them away, and I like this setup that they got the Wreckers out of the way, whereby, okay, they were going to play a huge role, and in the end they kind of do, but they're away from the main action, and this brings the kids into the episode because, okay, everyone knows that Soundwave is going to use something with the space bridge to kind of battle, and so when Jack decides that they're going to bridge in, he looks at Miko, I need some backup, and you kind of know it's him. He's going to go in, and Miko's going to come in with the Apex armor. I like that setup, and that okay, this is what's going to happen. But before that, we do get the kind of call from Shockwave that the Omega Lock is ready to fire. We get the start of the Megatron Optimus battle as Megatron calls for the Omega Lock to be fired, and this is where it really kicked it off because this thing is moving into position. If this thing hits Earth, Earth is done for basically, and I really did feel the kind of urgency of like they have to stop this right now. I like that. There's not really much of the battle that happens here, but what we do get is nice. It's not the climactic Megatron Optimus battle that you would expect. It's not Transformers Armada Megatron versus Optimus battle, but at the same time we've already had that. We've had that at the end of season 1. We've had it at the start of season 2. I don't think we really needed that battle again. So it really was just, instead of Optimus versus Megatron, the Autobot forces against Decepticon forces. But here's the big moment, one of my favourite moments of the episode. Jack, Miko, Raph basically take out Soundwave, and how they do it is by Jack rushes in, Miko comes in, takes out the Viacons, and Soundwave tries to fight Miko in her basically invincible Apex armor by moving a space bridge towards her to basically bridge her away. She knows what's happening and moves back, and this is where Jack calls for Raph to send in another space bridge, and we know from like season 1 what happens here, and so the streams cross, Soundwave's caught in the middle, and he's sent to the Shadow Zone. So I thought that was a brilliant way to take Soundwave out of the equation without ruining the kind of aura of like kind of almost invincibility around him, where like they took him out by using a kind of clever tactic. They were never going to beat him in a fight, but instead they used kind of this clever thing that they learned. Like, that was something very unique to the kids. They knew about the Shadow Zone. They knew how to make it happen. So it was a really good way of taking him out of the episode without like diminishing his stature in the series, really. So I really did enjoy that. And then Jack takes control of the ship and moves it out of position, and so you kind of feel a little bit of relief that, okay, Earth's temporarily out of the firing line. That's good. And as this is happening, Smokescreen's rushing to get the Star Saber. Everyone's piling into the station where the Omega Lock looking down onto it, and it's a really climactic kind of set piece battle here around the kind of ring as they're all looking down into the Omega Lock kind of pool of cyber matter. You know, this is where it starts to get really like crazy. You see like some of the Autobots getting hit, like RC's kind of getting some damage. Smokescreen gets hit, and you think, oh, he's gone down, is he dead, stuff like that. And everyone's rushing for the Star Saber because they know that stuff is going to happen when Optimus Prime gets the Star Saber. So that was really cool. From there we see Bumblebee is the one to get to it. You know, RC helps Bumblebee get to it, and we get this really nice shot from Shockwave's perspective of like just the kind of red hue of the visor, and then Bumblebee's face is just like, and he kind of falls down like Bumblebee knocked him out. That was a nice moment for what was a really good Bumblebee episode, this finale. He grabs the Star Saber and leaps for Optimus to get the saber to him. While this is happening, before the big moment, Ratchet urges Optimus to save Earth by destroying the Omega Lock, which is one of 2 moments in the finale that is good character development for Ratchet, because this is a guy who the whole series has been not anti-Earth, but he hasn't been getting into it. The rest of the Autobots have gotten into Earth, really gotten a connection with the humans, and have to some extent put Earth ahead of Cybertron. And Ratchet's always been like, we're here to save Cybertron, we're here to do this. So him urging Optimus to save Earth by destroying the lock and basically destroying a chance to save Cybertron is a big moment to show that he has developed this connection to Earth. He's developed this connection to these human characters who will be killed if this goes ahead. So that was a nice moment for him. And then we get to the big moment. Bumblebee is leaping down across the Omega Lock. Megatron fires 3 shots. Both hit Bumblebee and basically kill him instantly in midair, because it goes straight through him. You see a brutal shot of like a Bumblebee with a hole in him as he falls to the ground. The Star Saber is off to the side, kind of of the Omega Lock, as Bumblebee kind of sinks into this pool of cyber matter. His usually super bright and emotive eyes just out, a hole in him. It's super emotional with the music that's happening at the time, and for a character who hasn't really been developed that much outside of like Operation Bumblebee and the out of his mind, out of his head episodes, it was a really like emotional moment to see. And I think Beast Hunters has done a good job of setting this up as the scout who wants to become a warrior. He's developed a lot already, but this season he's really kind of showed him as he does so much to try and be that warrior. So there was great setup there for this guy, is that this is his big moment and he's taken out doing in the line of duty, getting this sword to his leader. It's really tragic, and it was just a great moment. And all this is happening while obviously everyone is watching down at that. You have Starscream, his armada, RC, everyone except the Wreckers basically watching this, and it was really good, really well done. Optimus Prime, you see his emotion for like one of the first times in the series. You really see him just get angry. Bumblebee is dead, and he just charges at Megatron, knocking him back, but in his kind of anger, knocks him back towards the Dark Star Saber, and Megatron picks it up, sends Optimus flying. He's hanging off the edge of the ship, about to kill Optimus, and then we hear this voice that we've never heard before, and Megatron just suddenly stops, and you're like, what just happened? Look down, Star Saber's through someone, and it's Bumblebee talking, and I kind of just went, yes, because it all connected for me there. Okay, he fell into cyber matter, so that obviously healed him, just like the idea was to heal, revive Cybertron. And then he had the sword. He's the one to do it. He was the closest to the sword, came up, he did it. And then that line that he says to Megatron, he's like, you took my voice, now I'll make it so that you can't take anything away from anyone ever again. That was absolutely perfect, and I love the voice. I think it's the same guy who does Lino from Thundercats, and it was perfect for him. I really liked it. So Megatron dies, falls to Earth. So you see Starscream screaming no, he wants revenge, and then Shockwave urges him to retreat. It was even a quite emotional moment for the Decepticons, just to see their leader be killed, and just in the death of this one guy, their whole organization kind of falls apart, in that they still have the kind of troop advantage, but without him leading them, they just know they've lost the battle. And I think that was done exceptionally well in the episode, that as much as you kind of like, wait, you still have the advantage, why are you running? You get it, because Megatron is so important to the Decepticon cause, and that, like, even when the Autobots lost Optimus at the end of Season 1 going into Season 2, that they could still come together and get him back, and the Decepticons aren't really like that. They rely so much on Megatron, so that was good. And it was a nice moment for Starscream to want revenge and be upset at the death of Megatron as well. That was good too. And then, obviously, with Megatron dead, they've won basically. Bumblebee has never noticed that his voice has come back, and everyone's just like, Bumblebee, your voice, and he's like, I got my pipes back, and it was just this really happy moment. And like, for a character who has been so hated mainly due to his over kind of being overly saturated in terms of toys, and hated because of that, and hated because he's always been since the Michael Bay movies has been this kind of mute character, for him to speak and be happy about it, it was just brilliant, brilliantly done. And they obviously explained that Bumblebee was healed by the cyber matter and stuff like that, so that was nice. Then they have the ship, and they head out for Cybertron. We see Bumblebee talk to Raph for the first time, and I thought it was amazing that like he doesn't like specifically like be super excited. He just talks to Raph. You know, get off your laptop for a second and come up here and check this out. And Raph's just like, Bumblebee. It was a really good moment, and then we see Starscream and Shockwave escape. They're both crammed into the one escape pod. And I think that it was a kind of this humorous way to kind of just continue this rivalry. As much they're escaping, they're trying to work together, and after all the rivalry that they've been through, they're just trying to survive, and they leave in this one escape pod. It was really good. So they fire the Omega Lock into the core of Cybertron because, as they say, they explain something like there's not enough of it to basically go around the whole planet and revive it that way. So they do the core, which will, by bringing the core back to life, will bring the planet back to life, and it revives. And this was a brilliant moment. I really love this, and that we cut to Knockout, and you're not really sure where he is, but he's just looking out, and he just sees the planet. He's just like, its luster is amazing, and then you kind of cut over and you see every single Autobot just looking at him like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, did you not hear? I've joined your team. And then Miko just hits him. And it was just a nice moment of like, they didn't like kill him or attack him. It was just Miko like, what are you doing? And just slapping him. So I kind of like the way that you get the sense that, oh, Knockout might actually be a member of the team when he wakes up. But anyway. And then the one moment with Predaking we really get in the episode is him, you know, kind of like regaining consciousness, sees the planet alive, and then flies off into the kind of sunset, and is spotted by the bots, and they just say, "Oh, the Predacon," but because it's so happy, because it's not attacking them, they just kind of let it go off. The Decepticons are no more, no one's in control, that sort of thing. He's not as big of a threat, and it was interesting, and I'll talk about the movie and what it's done later on after this, but there's a few points left. The bots, then we get the kind of emotional scenes. The bots have to return home to rebuild. There's a lot to be done. We get the Raph, Bumblebee kind of goodbye scene. I thought it was really well done. They're just a space bridge away. We get that the kids are going to become consultants for Unit E, and when they're older they'll become agents of Unity, all of them. And I thought that was nice. That was a nice way to do it. Ratchet then decides that he's going to stick to Earth as well. He's not going to go with them to rebuild Cybertron. And this was the moment. This was the moment I was just like, that is good character development for Ratchet. This character who has, in like the early episodes, was complaining about Earth, you know, all the technology and all this. And then he decides, I'm going to stick around here. That was just, as much as you can say like, oh, wait, why did you just turn so badly? I think deep down, like, when you really look at it, it's that he has developed such a connection to this planet that over the past kind of like, I suppose, year or two, that he's just grown connected to it, and then he wants to stay there and help them out. It's a nice moment for his character, and I did enjoy it. Then the Bumblebee Raph goodbyes, like the line like, you don't need to say anything, and then Bumblebee says, I never did. It's a perfect way to describe their relationship, and that they just always knew what they were talking about, even though not many other people understood them. It was interesting. There's a more emotional moment between Miko and Bulkhead as they say goodbye. RC and Jack have this kind of longer scene where I think it really perfectly shows RC's emotional kind of state, and that she's not really good at talking about her emotions, but you can see it on her face, but she just doesn't know what to say, and she just says, you know, keep in touch, and kind of leaves, and this kind of lingering shot, I liked it. The Wreckers and Smokescreen say goodbye to the adults and stuff like that. It's a kind of hint that June and Fowler are together as well. But then we get the final scene. Ratchet and Optimus Prime shake hands, and then they leave through the space bridge as Optimus kind of looks back and just nods at them as they're all kind of smiling at him. and that's how the show ends. It was an interesting way to end it. I was completely expecting Optimus to go into a monologue about just like it's like although we have only lived on this planet for so many years, we have grown connected to it. You know, the whole speaking to the stars thing that he does at the end of every like a Michael Bay movie, that sort of thing. But they didn't. They just kind of restrained themselves from doing the stereotypical thing and just that he nodded that he has respect for these people. It's not the complete goodbye and that they'll come back eventually. It was nice. So that's the end of the episode. And now we're going to talk about some stuff. Overall, I think it resolved a lot of things. It did what it needed to do. What it didn't resolve was obviously that there's obviously the setup for Predaking, which was the 1C that they really set up for the movie, which is going to be the complete finale of Transformers Prime as a whole. That was the big setup for that, so that's why Predaking was in the episode, but didn't really play a role. In terms of characters who have yet to fully develop, I think Smokescreen, as much as he did something in that disobeying orders, showing some sense of leadership to go get the Star Saber, that was a good moment for him. I still feel there's still more to come from him to show that he is the next Prime. In that he was such a huge part of the end of season 2 and the start of season 3 that they need to do something more with him, I think, in the movie to really show that he is next in line, because as I've kind of maybe complained about a bit in the past few episodes, they've maybe showed some moments where he's kind of regressed a bit, like the voice box line to Bumblebee a few episodes ago, and stuff like that. But I do think they need to kind of do something like that. Now, obviously, we have rumors that the next Transformers series is going to be set in the same universe. It's going to be Prime Universe. Maybe they could make Smokescreen the Prime in that one. But I do think they need something more. Next, Jack. I think Jack needs more development too. For roughly the same reasons. He was meant to be the human equivalent of a Prime. He had all this stuff going for him, and at the end they just kind of grouped him in with the other kids, when I thought that they maybe could have done something like made Jack an agent then and there, and the other two become agents when they're older. Something like that, just to show that he is the one who has the most leadership potential. Something like that. And from that, you know, I like Ratchet's development. I like the fact that Optimus showed a bit of emotion in the end, and I maybe would have liked to see a bit more with him and the whole brother relationship with Megatron. I mentioned that early on. Bulkhead was fine. I think Ultra Magnus and Wheeljack developed as much as they needed to. RC, I think, was fine as well. Really, I think in many ways it was a good ending to the show. But there's also just enough left open where they still need a kind of epilogue, I think, in the movie to show some stuff like was Megatron's death the end of the Decepticons, basically? Like, Starscream, Shockwave escaped, Knockout's still there, there's still a lot of Eacons alive. Is there still a threat from the Decepticons? Where are Starscream and Shockwave going? That's the main question I have. Is there something more to that? Like, I needed something more in terms of resolution if this was the end of the story, and then if Predacon Rising is going to be this kind of one-off thing that they do. And that's what I'm really wondering for going into the movie. Is it going to be this one-off thing that doesn't link too heavily to the show, or is it going to be a continuation of those, in that when we start the next one we get the kind of aftermath of the epilogue of this episode, and get the story of Predacons Rising and the whole thing with, I think, Unicron is in the synopsis or something like that, and then we get the full epilogue at the end of the movie. That's what I'm looking for. So that's why I'm not being too harsh in this episode about not answering everything, because there is still this movie to come. I'm just not quite sure what exactly the movie is kind of advertised as, really. Like initially I think that it was said that this season was 16 episodes long, but then they said it was a movie. And that's what I'm wondering, is that, like, did they put a kind of soft ending in episode 13 and they're going to make the full ending end of the movie? But overall, I'm really happy, and I really want to know in the comments, what are your thoughts on this episode? This was the finale to the show. How was it for you? You can probably tell I really did like it. I'm usually very harsh on series finales with regards to this stuff, but this one did enough for me. So what were your thoughts? But for this review, thanks for. I'll just say I will be reviewing the movie when it comes out. I think it's coming in like a month or two. I think. Yeah, the DVD's out in October, so I assume it'll have to air before then. But thanks for watching this video review, and bye.